Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Legacy Leaders. Scott McMeans is joined today by Dr. Sergio Sanchez. He happens to be the Chief Information Officer at Coleman Health Services. Really looking forward to this conversation because, believe it or not, this guy's got an amazing background. Been around the block a few times, been there, done that on a few different fronts. So there's a lot to talk about. Before we get into all those details, I'm going to turn the microphone and the camera over to you, sir. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and let's get going. So the camera and microphone are yours, sir.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for making me be able to be part of your podcast. I am Dr. Sergio Sanchez. I am the Chief Information Officer for Coleman Healthcare Services. Previous to this, I worked for the Catholic Church in the United States. Also, I was the Chief Information Services Officer for them. And yeah, I have a very weird trajectory in my life. I start basically like a medical doctor. I am a general surgeon by the University of Mexico 30 years ago. And then I decide to marry an American woman, of course. I moved to the United States, where I became 5 years later American citizen. And due to that, I couldn't pass directly my license to practice medicine here. Basically, I had to choose something else. My second love was computers, everything related to computers. I touched my first computer when I was around 13, 14 years old and was love at the first keyboard touch.
Hmm.
Uh, I can tell you my age without telling my age, that my first computer was a Commodore 16, not even the 64, the 16.
That's a
Uh,
long time ago, Sergio.
oh my goodness, yes. You don't know how much we have passed. I remembered, how happy I was that Windows became plug and play.
Mhm.
Prior to that, you get a new video card, a new audio card, or a new network card, open the computer, and was a pain to set it up. Moving jumpers and telling the computer where to send the signals. Yeah, it was horrible. Later on, also very happy when the USB came out.
Yeah.
And now it's so easy. I am so happy. Before, when you have to reimage a computer, you spend hours bring it back everything you had before. Today is basically immediately. You
Hmm.
you log off, you log in another place, and all your files or your settings are in there. That is something that probably the new generations, they don't know how much we suffer.
Yeah.
But yes, that was my life. Because of that, I got into Columbia University. I became master in computer science. And yeah, from 30 years to now, my life changed to technology. From again, very old computers to today, everything basically being in the cloud.
Hmm. Very
Uh,
different, right? Than the old punch cards and you said the Commodore 16-bit. All those things have been transformed. And what I like about your story is no path is predetermined, but you travel the path that chooses you. And most of the time, I would imagine that the passion you have for something helps that path get chosen for you. And you are an excellent example of someone who has all the talent in the world, all the intelligence and ability, and because love and passion took you to marry an American woman, and you came to the United States, and all right, now what do I do? I would love to follow healthcare in my pursuit of being a physician, but all things considered, I'm not able to do it right now. So I'm going to really follow this other passion that I have and take advantage of what I can with my talent, with my education, with my intelligence, and go after a different passion, and that is computers. And it's interesting. I know we've talked about it and before, but I really would like people to understand. when I'm talking about you have a passion for computers, there are a number of video games that people are playing or have played in their past that are purely because of you and what you decided to do. So I don't want to toot your horn too much, but I want people to understand you've taken a really interesting path from being a medical doctor, a surgeon. Now you're just in this information technology space, but it's not just you're a chief information officer. You've developed software that produce some of the most amazing games that people can play, and because of that, you have this amazing knowledge of, like you said, the cloud and how the intricacies of technology work, especially with computers. So let's talk really quickly about the pathway you've carved for yourself, because as I wrote down, talent will take you down a certain path, but passion makes you stay on it. And not all paths are predetermined. So you have to kind of follow your heart and follow your passion to get to certain spots. So let's talk a little bit about your career path and the different spots and locations you've been before now you're with Coleman, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, so my first job out of Colombia, out of basically changing from medicine to technology, was with the tobacco company, Philip Morris, in
Mm,
New York City. 100 Park Avenue was their building. And very funny thing, that was the only building in New York and probably in United States that people were allowed to smoke inside the building. Still, to the point that I have an old clock that they give me that says "Welcome smokers and no smokers. You can smoke here." And people just like you was back in the 50s or 60s, where
mm.
people was smoking inside me while talking to you, just like that in the cafeteria was people eating and smoking. Well, I was the analyst there, one of the analysts for websites that we were creating at that time. And talking about 1999, 98, around that time. And sadly, 9/11 came.
Mm.
And me and my wife and my kid at that time, we decided to move out of New York City. We moved upstate New York to a little town called Saratoga Springs.
Mm.
And
Beautiful town.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yes, pretty nice. And I was looking for a job over there. And looking at the newspaper was this little new studio, video game studio opening, created by two brothers that they were in the Rensselaer Technical, school, and they are brilliant, so amazingly brilliant that the school decided to give them an incubator and kind of give them a grant to start creating, video games. But they didn't have any person over there able to help them with the infrastructure of what is a
Yeah.
computer network. So I start creating for them from scratch, basically everything related to the IT department. I was the founder, basically, of their place. And 2, 3 years later, they became pretty popular to the point that a big, huge video game company called Activision Blizzard at that time bought us. And I stayed with them for 16 years, doing everything related to technology. Yes, I would say I was helping. I was no, I was just part of a team creating video games. But if you hear about Guitar Hero, Skylanders, Tony Hawk, Spider-Man, I think I have like a 50 titles under my.
Yeah. I remember some of the ones you made comment to last time we had a conversation. And I appreciate your humility by saying that you were part of a team that did this stuff. But the thought of what you've done and what I wanted people to really pay attention to is following that passion, following your skill set into a different arena. There's two young kids from Rensselaer. They've got an incubator fund, and they asked you to come and help, and you said, "Why not?" I
Yeah.
mean, there's plenty of people that probably would have stayed away from that opportunity. What was it that struck you, and what was the thing that said, "You know what, this is something I need to go and do"?
I have to tell you, first thing is my love for video games. I consider myself at my almost 60 years old video gamer.
Ah,
Every that I consider I learned about like troubleshooting was because video games. That was was a pain to install a video game. So all that knowledge basically was reflected in me helping this little studio to become pretty big. Uh, and the path that I got plus, the learning that I have in school was something amazingly incredible for me.
good. Okay.
Years later, actually, sadly, and it's pretty frequently happening layoffs in that industry. I got laid off, but I have very good friends with the business side of Apple because we were getting a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
devices. Basically, at that time was the beginning of people having iPhones and the iPhones having video games. So I don't know how many I bought for the company, between iPads and iPhones, to the point that again I became very good friend of several people over there. And when they discovered that I lost my job due to layoffs, they called me and they asked me, "Hey, do you would like to work for Apple?" And of course, I says yes
Sure,
immediately.
why not?
And I got the most pretentious and weirdest title in my life. I was the senior lead genius of,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. So I guess my mother was right when she says I was a genius, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it was on paper though, so it's legit. It means you are, in fact, a genius.
so I stayed with them, worked with them. Basically, I was in charge of the management of the famous Genius Bar,
Oh
the
wow, okay.
technical team. With the time, I decide later on, I had the opportunity to go and work for a company now that was mixing technology with healthcare, which I thought like, well, this is perfect for me. I have the medical background and the technology background. So this is great that they are offering me to stay more at home, stop traveling. And I moved and with this amazing company called Eversana, which is a
Wh-
company that is Eversana. It's a
Okay.
company that work a lot with pharmaceutical companies, not only from the advertising point of view, but also for the research part. So
Okay.
I was implementing systems there. I became the enterprise manager, and for all of them. Uh, and of course, at that time, sadly, I was single again. I divorced my first wife, and I met like everybody now, somebody online.
Ah,
When they asked my my wife and me today, uh, how do you met? I always says eBay, and they like no, no. But
that's not right. I don't think that's a registered dating site online. But go ahead. That's it.
everybody's like, a what? So, but the only problem at that time is that she was living here in Ohio. And already my son in college, me by myself in New York, I decided to move to Ohio. And again, my career changed. Uh, with the change, also, I was looking for a different job. And I found another job very similar to this one, very similar to Coleman. Actually, very funny. The letters in the another one was also CHS, which is the
Mhm.
same as that Coleman Health Services. But in that case was continuing healthcare services and was basically um, management of therapy centers. We used to have up to 700 centers around the United States. Uh, I'm working very well for them. I was director of IT there until one time, one deal, and I hope I don't speak evil about anybody, ill. Uh, CDW, the
Mhm.
company that provide for the software and hardware, and Hewlett Packard called me and says, "Hey, when are you going to pay for the 300 computers that we send you? You have now like a 4 months without, covering the cost. What do you mean? This must be a
Hmm.
mistake. Let me call the chief information officer right now, which is my boss. I couldn't get in touch with him. I called his brother, which at the time was the chief financial officer, and I couldn't get with him. And I called the CEO, this lady, and I couldn't get in touch with them. And phone calls, text messages, even smoke signals, I promise.
Nothing worked.
I even to close their email accounts. I was going to be sure, hey, if I close the accounts, I'm sure somebody's calling me like, hey, I'm not getting emails, something like that. Nothing. 2 weeks later, we received all the employees, and this is the time of COVID. So
Yeah. Huh.
to the office. We received an email from lawyers companies telling us, guys, thank you very much for working here. Your last day will be such and such day. And your last payment will be such and such. And never again hear about this company, never again hear about these people. No idea what
Wow.
happened to them. So looking for a job, I found a job with the church, the Catholic Church in the United States.
Wow.
Uh, the Franciscan friars in Italy decide to unify the church here in America. They were divided in 6 different provinces.
Wow. Okay.
So, by example, California, Oregon, Washington, all that area was Santa Barbara province. Then you have Virgin of Guadalupe, which Arizona, New Mexico, that area. Here in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, blah, 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 it was St. John the Baptist, things like that. And all the East Coast was sacred name. Uh, and the big problem is that not really a technology infrastructure of them. And they were losing a lot of basically money. Just to give
Wow.
you an example, the office in New York, they had 3 different internet providers, and they were paying the 3 of them, and only one was giving service. So they had AT&T, Verizon, and Spectrum, and Spectrum was the only one really using, and
Wow.
they were paying for the 3 of them. Things like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
the,
those are
the,
situations where left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And once
it's
somebody steps in to identify it, okay, how do you reconcile that?
Well, was kind of hard. We eliminated another 2, but what I was going to tell you is all my life in the technology world, my end users were people that has some knowledge of computers or
Mhm.
smartphones. For us, basically, is one of the main or is the main tool that we use every day to do our job. In the case of the flyers, they didn't use technology like main tool. They was the is the face-to-face interaction with the people. So they were the most unique end users for me. Some of them they never use a smartphone. Some of them the average is around 72, 76 years old. Uh, they use a computer that somebody donated to them that is like
Yeah.
a Windows XP, and I am not kidding you. And they want to have the new, website to see the directory of friends and family, and they couldn't. So we update all the computers, we update all the system, and we give them a domain because they were using, believe it or not, AOL accounts.
Oh,
So some of them they didn't want to change. They didn't think was important until I last year I was traveling 47 times all over the United States to talk to them.
yeah.
And this is something that is important for CISOs and CIOs out there. I discovered that is people that they don't think that a username or a update security is important. And they are,
Really?
yes. Yeah, I have friars telling me I am nobody. I really don't use too much my computer. I don't pay nothing in the computer. Why have to change now to this thing called MFA? Why have to have a longer password when these four digits
Mhm.
will allow me is working fine for me?
Well, it sounds like one of those things that people are afraid of is change, but change is good, especially when it's necessary, right? When you've got people that are connected to old ways of doing it, and the better, newer way is going to make life so much easier. Yes, there's a short period of time where you have to figure out a new password, or a short period of time where you have to do something different. But once you start incorporating that technology or that change, everything's fine on the other side. And there's so many different layers to what you and I have been talking about. And I want to make sure people get a really good connection to it. You've proven throughout the conversation that when you have a passion for something and you're willing to learn something along the way of your journey, one position and one company gives you an opportunity to learn and develop and to discover your leadership possibilities. I think that's a really cool piece. The other thing is don't be afraid to make a move for something that allows you to live your life. You know, twice now you've moved for a woman. And that's an amazing thing, Sergio, right? Not too many people would do that. In the selfish part of today's society, people would say, I'm not going to do that. My career is so much more important to me. And what I'm discovering through our conversation, what I find very unique and I want people to pay attention to is following your passion doesn't mean you have to follow your career. Follow your passion because there's something in your life that is driving you, directing you to take care of something bigger than yourself. And that whether that's a relationship or your faith or being something of a servant to others, there's something bigger about following your passion, and it doesn't have to always be your career. And what I like about your story is you've landed in so many different spots, but each time you've landed, you've learned and taken something from that role and you've moved on to do something different, bigger, better, however you want to describe it, because you've had the opportunity to learn something new, develop a different skill set, and on top of it all, discover your own leadership. And I think that's a very powerful thing. And again, I love the idea of, change is good, especially when it's necessary. I want people to pay attention to that. Don't be afraid of making change simply because you don't know what's going to be on the other side. Be afraid of staying where you are and knowing exactly what you're involved in because that is the killer of dreams.
Yeah,
So I want to thank you for that.
the famous fatigue when you are doing something very repetitive is something that also I feel is killing you slowly.
Yeah.
So if you have a passion, like you says, going forward in life, everything else is will come. Just
Mhm.
like the movie, like if you build it, they will come the same way. Do what you love, do what you are, excited to do every day.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, no matter what is, that is what you have to do. Money will come after, I promise to you. Uh, you know,
Well, there's always,
happiness.
the fear of that, right? And there's something about, thinking about different companies and how they present themselves to the marketplace. It's no different than an individual like yourself presenting yourself to the marketplace as far as who's going to hire me or what I'm going to do next. When you have a value that is sought after, a value that people want, and you have a value that sometimes people want, they desperately just want to get to you because you have something of value. There is a vacuum created behind you of I'm doing this, and eventually the vacuum will pull money in, and I'll be able to make that money. I think that's a powerful statement. Now, I guarantee you, there's people out there right now, Sergio, that are saying, "Yeah, that sounds so much easier when you already have money. You can do that."
Oh,
But
absolutely.
right, but I want people to recognize when you follow a passion, again, it doesn't have to be a passion for a career. When you follow a passion, you're filling a spot in yourself that makes it worthwhile. And because you're doing something you love to do, it's going to fulfill you in certain ways that eventually, yes, money will come and it follows you right to that spot that you landed. Right?
I'm going to tell you actually something that probably illustrates this. I grew up again in Mexico, thanks God, in a good school, in a private school, and I have two friends that I know now for more than 55 years,
Yeah.
uh, kindergarten basically. And it's very funny. These two friends, every time you ask them when they were little kids, what do you want to do when you grow
Mhm.
up? Their answer was, I want to work in Wall Street all
Ah,
their lives. And they don't even knew what that means, but they want to be in Wall Street. And the answer was, is because I want to have money. I want to have money. I want to have
mm,
money. Later on, they became economists. And both of them, they have the good luck to move to the United States and study, one in Harvard and the other one in Yale at that level. And both of them working Wall Street today. And when I talk to them, like, hi, how are you? How's everything going? One time I asked them, how are you feeling now that you fulfill your
yeah.
child dreams? They hate it
Wow. Why?
because they went for the money, not for what they like to do.
Okay.
So I told them, hey, you are getting bonuses every year of $400,000 and up. Like, yeah, but I have to deal with this guy, go to these meetings, face this person.
Mm-hmm.
So they like the money side.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to do the job to get the money, but they are now there. So they feel trapped. So it's the
It's a
same
very
question.
different, okay, Sergio, that's a very different argument or very different position on manifesting what you want to have happen. They
Mhm.
manifested to be their best financial version of themselves, but they never necessarily took the time to manifest themselves to being the best version of themselves. And
Correct.
I think that's a big difference, right?
Correct. That was the thing. Correct. Completely.
Well, that's
So
this is a really interesting conversation because there's a ton of people out there that are chasing a dream because they think it's going to make them a ton of money, as opposed to chasing a dream because it's something they're passionate about, something they like to do, something they're good at. All right. So there's always that interesting argument of if you're good at something and you like doing it, you should pursue it. But if there's a lot of people that love doing something and they're not very good at it,
correct.
or Sergio, they're very good at something, but they really don't like doing it. So you have to find that passion. And this is what I think is so great about this conversation and the lessons you're pushing is when you follow a passion, your pathway is going to be different than if you're pushing yourself to do something you really don't want to do simply because the end result you believe is the money you've always wanted. It's
Exactly.
interesting.
Completely agree with you. But yes, I love to help people. I think
Hmm.
my medical career was for that reason, help people to be healthy, to be safe in that way. Sadly, I couldn't do that coming to the United States unless I wanted to spend 8 years to a school again.
Yeah.
Uh, but today, which is the interesting thing here, uh, in this job, I am fulfilling both. I am not really seeing the patient directly, but I'm helping the doctors, nurses, and clinical team to help. I'm helping them to see the patients, to find better ways to get in touch with the patients, to do an easier way to prescribe medicines or have a chat online with the patient and keep all that information secure.
Hmm.
So kind of like I am helping patients to get better. A little bit farther away of what the face to face, but I'm helping the people helping them. That is what is important to me.
Yeah. I think there's something special about being in healthcare. And yes, there's money involved, but there is something that is hitting you inside when you wake up in the morning and you know, today I'm going to go to work and I'm going to save so many different people through what I've either designed or what I practice, how I market it in the healthcare arena, whatever the case may be. There's something that makes you feel inherently good about what I'm doing today because I know I'm going to help somebody out there. I think that's a really good, powerful thing to have.
That's completely right. To me, my biggest gift is see the people smiling.
Hmm. Yeah.
People. It is something that working for Apple uh, make an amazing impression on me. One of the core values of Apple says, I want to leave this world better than I found it.
Yeah.
So that resonates to me all the time. So, my advice to my own kids always is do what you love, but whatever you do, no matter what you are, if you are going to clean toilets or be a surgeon or be, play music in the Philharmonic of London, you have to put high senses in what you do.
Yeah.
You have to really compromise with that passion that you have. That will fulfill you in every single sense. And yeah, that's how I feel for everything.
Well, I
Uh,
think that's a really good explanation point on the conversation is putting a smile on somebody else's face, how that warms your heart from the inside out is the reason why you follow that passion. It's a reason why you do what you do because, well, you're talented enough to do it. You're skilled enough to have an outcome that's positive, and you can see people being helped on the other side, and it makes it just worthwhile. So thank you for that. I think it's brilliant. We have been chatting for over half an hour now. One final question for you, sir.
yes.
If I would put you in a time machine and send you back to meet 18-year-old Sergio, what would that conversation be like?
First, I will tell him, will be this thing called Google, buy the shares. But I will tell him to, actually, I will not tell him nothing.
Wow.
I
Okay.
let him do the same thing that I did because I am who I am for all that experiences that I didn't know what going to happen in the future
Okay.
that make me be today sit down in this chair talking to you. If I change anything, I will be not having the pleasure to do it.
Yeah.
And no matter what I tell myself when I was 18 years old, happiness and suffering will be in your path. Maybe in another way, but will be. And again, that happiness and that suffering is what make you be today Scott.
Sure. No, okay. And I'm gonna step on this a little bit differently than maybe you might think. I agree with you from the perspective of when you consider not every path is predetermined, and your
Correct.
skill and your talent will get you so far, but your passion is going to put you on the right path. With that in mind, going back and telling yourself, this is what I would do different, you wouldn't be the same person when you got done. So I can appreciate that sentiment. That's profound. I appreciate that. Sergio, thank you so much for being here. It was great conversation. I know there's plenty of lessons that people are going to pull from this. And mainly, I think it's all about following a passion and don't worry about change because change is good, especially when it's necessary. So thank you for your commentary and thank you for your contributions to the podcast. I really appreciate it. And we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.